So we had a very, very frank discussion of past relations between Cleveland and Independence, and very quickly I could see it was really fascinating for me and Valerie to watch this relationship start to develop between Mayor Jackson and Mayor Ramos. By the end of the meeting, we had seen development of mutual trust, and we could tell that everything was going to go forward from that point on. What happened after that is a very quickly negotiated income tax sharing agreement whereby this facility, had the terms and conditions to move to Independence. Independence was willing to split the taxes that we obviously lost a portion of the players' salaries by the fact that they were spending a lot of their time down in Independence. We worked out, negotiated a tax sharing arrangement with the City of Independence. Then we went to Cleveland City Council. Had some pretty rocky going there, not from Councilman Zone, but from some of his colleagues. But fortunately, Council President Martin Sweeney steered us through. We got the authorization and eventually did the deal with the City of Independence. What that told us was this is a blueprint for going forward. We should, as a region, not look at our different communities competing with each other to keep companies or to attract companies out. And we shouldn't be outbidding each other with precious tax resources. This community is going to bid, 80% real property tax abatement. This one's going to go up to 90%. Over here, we're going to go to 100%. Well, if we want to do that to attract somebody from San Antonio to come to Cleveland, that's great. But we shouldn't be doing it to each other. That's only going to get us all at each other's throats. And the companies, the very companies we're wanting to keep, are getting turned off by the process because they become a political football in the back and forth amongst the city councils over who's going to outbid the other to keep this business or attract this business and all that. Where now does this stand in terms of City of Cleveland and your communities going forward? Well, where Mayor Jackson looked next to translate what we had done with Independence was our water agreements. We had just gone through City Council and got the authorization to do the water rates we needed to sustain everything you saw out here in the last hour or so. And then we came to your communities, initially through the Mayors and Managers Association, but also through other means and through your respective councils, and communicated on where we were heading with our water system. What emerged from that discussion was a decision by the Jackson administration that then was very quickly supported by Cleveland City Council, in general by Council President Sweeney and the rest of Council, but very specifically and very aggressively led by Councilman Zone as head of our Public Utilities Committee. And that became the approach that you'll see Chris Nielsen describing to you in terms of our water agreements and the related joint economic development agreements that we are asking that communities sign when they sign up the water agreements. Our rationale on these joint economic development agreements was really borrowed from the whole Cleveland Independence example, and that is, let's recognize that amongst each other, we're not going to be fighting back and forth on companies. If a company decides for its own interests to move from Cleveland to a suburb or vice versa, we're going to respect that decision. We're going to agree between us, Cleveland and the suburb and Cleveland, that if a company moves one place or the other, the new community will, for a period of 5 years, share the income taxes with the old, thereby ease the pain of the relocation, make it easier for everyone, and again, make it easy for the company to make the best economic decision for its future, which makes that company more competitive in the national and regional market and makes our region more competitive. And again, I want to thank Councilman Zone and his committee for understanding this so quickly, for really working with us to get it done. And in fact, Councilman Zone's a co-author of an article in the American Water Works Association that describes this very approach. With me today is Chris Warren, and Chris will be your main point of contact going forward, because among Mayor Jackson's commitment to regional collaboration was the first ever creation of a Chief of Regional Development position. It will be Chris's job going forward to work with your councils and your respective mayors to build on some of these things that I've described to you today. He will be very heavily dependent on Chris Nielsen for the reasons that Chris will explain in his PowerPoint, because Chris has been our point person in dealing with your respective bodies. He's made presentations to many of you on our approach to business and will continue to be there. Chris Warren will be looking at issues beyond the water agreements in other ways where we can work with each other and grow this region in a way where we're working with each other, not by merging governments, but just by respecting each other and recognizing that we work better in tandem than competing back and forth with each other. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chris Nielsen to describe a little more detail what we're up to.
Thank you, Ken.